Jordan, how are you, sir? Good to see you.
6 o'clock. 6 o'clock.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
It is 6 o'clock, April the 2nd, time for our council meeting. This time we'll call ourselves to order. Certainly a nice crowd tonight. I'd like to welcome each and every one of you here for our meeting. And also would like to recognize the Union County Alumni Chapter, Delta Sigma Theta. I hope I'm saying that right, sorority. At this time, we'd like to do a proclamation to you ladies.
Okay.
I'll ask Ms. Flute Anthony to read it, please.
Okay, will the ladies of the Delta Sigma Theta sorority of Union County Alumni Chapter please stand? Whereas the Union County Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated was chartered on January 28, 2011 by 18 members who saw an increased need for service in Union County. Since their chartering, they have grown to over 80 members who are dedicated to uplifting the community and strengthening relations with citizens, local government, and other organizations who also seek to empower and improve our county. And whereas, following the footsteps of their 22 national founders and the direction of their grand chapter, they are a group of college-educated women dedicated to strengthening the community through leadership and service, providing programs and services that fall within our grand chapter's 5-point programmatic thrust consisting of economic development, educational development, international awareness and involvement, physical and mental health, and political awareness and involvement. And whereas the UCAC chapter serves the following municipalities: Fairview, Henry Bridge, Indian Trail, Lake Park, Marshville, Marvin, Middle Springs, Monroe, Stallings, Unionville, Waxhaw, Weddington, Wesley Chapel, and Wingate. And whereas the UCAC chapter seeks ways to align strategically with initiatives as well as partner with organizations and constituents of the city of Monroe to make meaningful and impactful contributions to the community. And whereas the UCAC chapter provides a conduit for information and programming to be delivered to the community where needs exist, such as the following: Rosa L. Poston and Jeanette B. Sherrod Scholarship, organizational donations, Delta Academy, Delta Gems, Debutante Cotillion, community health, free market, feeding the hungry, education through the arts, voter registration, and education. Now, therefore, I, Bobby G. Kilgore, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Monroe, do hereby proclaim and observe April 2019 as Union County Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated Month, and urge all citizens to join me in saluting the organization and expressing appreciation for the fine example set by them in contributing to the welfare of this community. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Monroe to be affixed this the 2nd day of April 2019. Bobby G. Kilgore. And Mayor Kilgore will present you.
Thank you, Mayor, for your patience.
Certainly nice to have you ladies with us, and thank you for what you do in and around the city of Monroe. You do a great job, and I want to say thank you again. Appreciate you being here. Item 2 is Fire Department Public Protection Classification Rating. Chief Fowler.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. We're very, very excited to report to you this evening that we have gotten our results back from our insurance classification rating survey. As you may recall, we were surveyed back in November, and I am very pleased to report that we did have an improvement. We improved from a Class 3 to a Class 2. And as you know, the lower the number, the better, with the Class 1 being the very best and 10 being the worst. So I'm very, very excited that we were able to improve to a Class 2. Certainly want to thank the men and women of the fire department for all their hard work that they put into to make this possible. And this isn't just a few weeks or a few months leading up to it. It's over the years, because when you have these surveys, they'll go back for a number of years looking at, what the department and the city's done. And it's really a partnership with what the council's done with providing resources such as staffing and stations and apparatus and equipment, those type of things. And then it's the firefighters using those resources you've given us to best serve our citizens and to rate the best on that insurance survey. So again, I certainly commend the members of the department and thank the council for your support. I also appreciate our partners. This survey looks at the city as a whole. It looks at our communications abilities with our partners over at CCOM, the 911 Center, and also the water system with our City Water Resources Department. Looks at that water supply and the hydrants and those type of things. So it looks at the city as a whole. This has been something that we've continually improved over the years. Mayor, you may recall back in 1995, we had a rating that we were able to improve from a 6 to a 5. We had one back in 2006 that we improved from a 5 to a 3, and now from a 3 to a 2. The rating will be effective July the 1st, and it certainly will mean a benefit to our property owners in the city with their fire insurance rates, because that does have a direct impact on the fire insurance rates, especially the business and industries in the city. So we're certainly glad to be able to give that back to our community. You can be proud of one thing. There's about over 1,500 fire departments in the state, and the last data I saw, there's about 30 of those that have a Class 2 or better. So you can be rest easy on that. Again, thank you for your support over the years, and mostly thank the members of the department for their hard work and effort over the years and for making this possible. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Okay, item 3, I'd like to recognize Pete at this time to talk with us about the wreath across America. Some of you may be familiar with it. If not, we're going to give you a little overview of wreath across America.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief. Just wanted to kind of show you guys a wreath that's been sitting in our lobby the past week. It was presented by Kathy Powers for Wreaths Across America. Her daughter was on the youth council. Now she's an ambassador for Wreaths Across America. She will be running in 50 states. She had a son that passed away in the Air Force, was in a coma for a while. We actually visited him. Great story, and she had a true life-changing moment. She lost over 100 pounds, was running, and she's using Monroe as her step-off for her campaign with this organization. So she's planning on running in each of the 50 states. They had a ceremony last week in New Salem Elementary School where she presented the mayor and the city of Monroe with this wreath, which was her son, Bryce Powers. They take the dog tags and they put them on an actual tree, a fir tree, I don't know where, maybe in Maine, and they actually make the wreaths for those individuals out of that tree for her. So it's really touching, really emotional. It was a nice ceremony and it was a great gesture on her behalf. And just wanted to inform you guys of it and share this with you and our viewers.
I think they put those wreaths on each grave at the National Cemetery.
They do. That's one of their missions is to go to different cemeteries and place these wreaths on those sites.
Do a great job for a military.
Just wanted to share that with you all.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thanks, sir.
At this time, we'll go to the consent agenda. Larry?
Thank you, Mayor and members of City Council. The City Council uses the consent agenda to consider items that are non-controversial and routine. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of the council. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a council member or citizen with the consent of council. The consent agenda contains the following items. Item number 3 is for the purpose of calling 2 sets of hearings to be held on May 7th for the question of annexation and considering rezoning property by amending the Code of Ordinances, Section 156.98 and Section 156.106, and to direct the clerk to investigate petitions involving these 2 sets of properties. The first property contains approximately 72 acres and is located at the corner of Seacrest Shortcut and Fowler Road as a potential conditional district, Simpson Farms. The second property contains approximately 25 acres and is located along Waxhaw Highway and Skywatch Lane as potential conditional district, Alexander Commons. Item 4 is for the purpose of approving 3 budget amendments. The first is in the amount of $70,000 for the replacement of a 2009 Ford F-550 four-wheel drive used as the primary truck for the stormwater maintenance crew. The second is to accept a donation in the amount of $2,509 from Delta Sigma Theta sorority to purchase chairs at the J. Ray Shute Community Center. The third is to accept a donation in the amount of $250 from the Advanced Driver Training Services, Inc. for use by the Monroe Police Explorer Program. Item 5 is for the purpose of calling a hearing to be held on May 7th to consider zoning map amendment requests for property located at 2714 Curitan Street. Item 6 is for the purpose of approving the update of MA-02, the Charlotte Monroe Executive Airport Fuel Storage Policy, and the fuel storage agreement with Charter Jet Transport, a subsidiary of Arrowwood Aviation. Item 7 is for the purpose of awarding the property acquisition services contract to Right-of-Way Group in the amount of $76,000 to perform appraisals of permanent and temporary easements needed for the Concord Avenue sidewalk improvement project. Item 8 is for the purpose of awarding the purchase of a bucket truck to Altech Industries in the amount of $186,853 through Sourcewell's Cooperative Purchasing Program for use by the Energy Services Department. Item 9 involves minutes and reports lettered A through I. Item 9A involves disbursement from City Council's discretionary fund. There was one disbursement by Mayor Kilgore to the Arc of Union and Cabarrus counties in the amount of $200. Item 9B is financial reports for March 2019, and as a summary, I will highlight several fund balance amounts. The first of which is total fund balance, which is at $28,563,016 as of March 3rd. A few subsets of the total fund balance are fund balance reserved by policy, which is $10,106,000 and change. The unassigned general fund balance is $5 million and change, and the total assigned fund balance is $2.1 million. There are 6 sets of minutes lettered 9C through H. Item 9I is summary of contracts awarded, change orders approved, and city manager settlement of claims. There were 34 contracts for the period that totaled $244,000 and change, and there were no claims settled during the period. Item 10 is for the purpose of adopting 4 sets of resolutions. The first is to revise the rules of conduct for the Monroe Aquatic and Fitness Center by extending the policy's coverage and application to all individuals, members, and guests or otherwise that are on this property. The second is to amend the rules of governing conduct of public comments during the City Council's regular meetings by shifting the public comment period to be before the consent agenda, but after any recognitions or proclamations. The third is to appoint the Energy Services Interim Director, David LaCour, as Commissioner, and Energy Services General Manager of Engineering, Transmission, Maintenance, and Compliance, Robert Miller, as the second alternate for the North Carolina Municipal Agency No. 1, otherwise known as Electric Cities. Fourth is to rename the remnant of Gold Mine Road to Propel Way to accommodate street addressing for the Shipping Department of Consolidated Metco. Item 11 is for the purpose of approving January's tax releases in the amount of $2,812.72. These releases were created by a change or reduction in value to the City of Monroe by the Union Tax Assessor. Item 12, for the purpose of accepting the recommendations of the Park and Recreation Commission and General Services Committee to affirm the wording and appearance of the current facility identification sign at the Winchester Recreation Complex. Mayor, members of the City Council, that concludes my summary of items placed on the City Council's consent agenda.
I move that the consent agenda be accepted.
I have a motion, I have a second. Second. Any comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, that passed. Okay, item 13 is a public hearing on level 2 economic development grant. Chris Patay, I saw Chris, I didn't see you. Welcome, sir. Mr. Ron Mayo.
Yes, sir. Mayor, Council, Manager Faison, it's my pleasure to bring before you tonight an Economic Development Incentive Grant request by Griner Bio One North America, otherwise referred to as Project True. Griner Bio One is headquartered in Austria and manufactures plastic injection molded products for the medical laboratory industry. They have been located in the Monroe Corporate Center since the year 2000 and have grown to occupy over 230,000 square feet, and they currently employ a little over 330 people. Their most common product is the blood draw tubes that you and I see at our doctor's offices when we visit. In fact, Griner produced approximately 800 million of those tubes in 2018 from their facility here in Monroe. In addition to Monroe, the company has production plants in Europe, Brazil, and Thailand. The company is considering a $12,750,000 investment here in Monroe. The project includes the purchase and installation of new process equipment necessary to meet the growing demand of its products across the globe. If Monroe is the selected location, equipment would be ordered in the second quarter of 2019 and installed and operational by mid-2020. A minimum of 5 new jobs will be created, paying an average of $35,000 per year, and that's before overtime. The company has indicated that incentives are a very important factor for the project, and the project is in competition with other corporate locations in Asia, Europe, and South America. Tonight, we're requesting your consideration of a Level 2 Economic Development Incentive Grant in an amount not to exceed $293,250 to be paid over 5 years beginning in fiscal year 2020, based upon the Union County Tax Office's appraised value each year on the company's anticipated investment of, again, $12,750,000. Based on this investment and holding all other factors constant, including depreciation, the company would pay estimated ad valorem taxes on the new taxable investment of $392,891 over the grant period. Of course, actual tax revenue to the city will be based on the current tax rate applied to the assessed value of the investment each year after depreciation. As we do with all of our projects, we performed a cost-benefit analysis, and this project shows a 1.57 to 1 return over the first 5 years of the project or the grant period, and that increases to 4.47 to 1 return over the life of the project. We also brought this project to the Union County Board of Commissioners last night, where a similar economic development grant was awarded. Therefore, the Monroe Union County Economic Development staff recommends the award of this Level 2 performance-based incentive grant to Griner Bio 1 North America in an amount not to exceed $293,250 in order to help secure this $12,750,000 investment in our community. At this time, I'd like to recognize Mr. Rick McGinnis. Rick is Executive Vice President of Finance with Griner, and he's available to answer any questions that you might have. With that, thank you.
One question. You said Asia, Europe, and South America are being considered. Are we the only place in the United States being considered?
Yes, ma'am.
Here we are.
Ms. Anthony, the Monroe facility is the only production facility that Griner Bio 1 has in North America. But we do have similar facilities located in Austria, Brazil, and Thailand that manufacture the same type of product that we do here. So we're in competition with them internally to get the equipment here.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else have a question? Not, thank you, Ron. Thank you very much. Okay, do I have a motion?
I make a motion to adopt the resolution awarding the incentive agreement.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passed.
A motion to approve the incentive agreement.
Okay, I have a motion to approve the incentive.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that incentive is approved. Thank you. Item 14, the zoning map request to rezone property located intersection of John Moore Road and Hickory Grove Road from conditional district, Dogwood Forest, to conditional district, Dogwood Forest Amendment. Let's start with that.
Good evening. I'm Carrie Mendler with the Planning Department. Tonight I'm here to present a zoning map and text amendment request for the property located at the corner of John Moore Road and Hickory Grove Drive. The previous conditional district was approved in October of 2018. However, once the project was in the engineering phase, it was determined that the proposed sand filter for stormwater purposes was not going to work for this site. Since there was a note specifically on the original plan regarding the sand filter, the applicant must seek approval for the modification. Additionally, the applicant is seeking a reduction in the approved heated floor area of the homes from 1,800 square feet to 1,400 square feet. The applicant has also submitted additional elevations for consideration. The homes must still meet the exterior material requirements as previously approved. And just to orient you to the site, it is highlighted in blue. It is at the corner of John Moore Road and Hickory Grove Drive. And just as a reminder, West Highway 74 is located to the north. The subject property is currently zoned Conditional District Dogwood Forest, and the adjoining zoning surrounding this parcel is zoned R20 Residential Single Family. As a reminder, the property is 7.52 acres. The applicant is proposing 21 single-family lots for a density of 2.79 units per acre. The development will have just over 2 acres of open space. In regards to the stormwater, the previous approval had specified that sand filters would be used for stormwater management. Again, once the project was in the engineering phase, it was determined that a sand filter would not work. A revised note has been added to state that detention and water quality basins will be an approved stormwater control measure, and the stormwater measures will be evaluated and reviewed if the project is approved by City Council at the building permit stage of the process. As far as the layout, it has not changed from the original approval. They are still proposing 21 lots. The location of the stormwater management is in the same location as it was before. There will still be street trees located on the site. There will still be a buffering landscape buffer along Lot 2, which is adjacent to John Moore Road. And then there's also still going to be landscaping around the perimeter of the project. The developer's proposing homes with a minimum of 1,400 square feet. The original conditional district was approved for a minimum house size of 1,800 square feet. So this does appear to be more in line with the surrounding home sizes. And the proposed exterior building materials will include fiber cement, stone, stucco, brick, and/or vinyl. If vinyl is used, it must be a high-quality vinyl that is at least 0.044 inches thick. The vinyl must also have a backing material, must be heat resistant with UV reflective additives, and must also be wind resistant. If vinyl is used, 25% of the front facade must include fiber cement, brick, stone, or stucco. Each home will still have a 2-car garage that will have ornamentation and/or windows or other detailings such as hardware to mimic a carriage-style garage. And each driveway will be paved with concrete and will be able to accommodate at least 2 vehicles. As I mentioned, the applicant did submit some additional elevations for your consideration. These top 2 were submitted with the original approval, and then the bottom 4 are provided for your consideration as well. As far as the neighborhood notification, staff did post the property and sent letters to the property owners within at least 150 feet of the subject property 10 days prior to the public hearing. And the land development plan indicates this area is suburban. Residential uses typically take the form of neighborhoods with uniform housing types and densities. A mix of housing types and lot sizes is preferred in suburban locations, and the density for suburban residential is 2 to 4 units per acre. Just to recap, the applicant is seeking approval to use a different form of stormwater detention, which will be reviewed and approved during the permitting phase. Additionally, he is seeking approval to reduce the heated floor area of the homes from 1,800 square feet to 1,400 square feet. Planning Board did unanimously recommend approval of the rezoning from Conditional District Dogwood Forest to Conditional District Dogwood Forest Amendment 1. I'll be happy to answer any questions, and the applicant and his engineer are here as well.
Question, the pictures on the top 2, those were the 1,800 square feet.
The minimum of the 1,800. Yes.
And so those we're not considering anymore if this passes. So we're looking at these 4 on the middle and bottom, those are the 1,400.
Yes, so those are the new elevations for your consideration.
So the stormwater retention is what changed, but that's yet to be approved, right?
Correct. That's what's up for consideration tonight, as well as the reduction in the square footage of the homes and
Okay,
elevation.
with the letters that went out to the homeowners, what did the majority of them say? How many replies did you get?
I spoke to 2 individuals that lived on, or sorry, 3. 2 that lived on Valleydale, and then 1 on John Moore. The gentleman that lived on John Moore had general questions about it. I didn't get a feel for, if he had any concerns. The 2 on Valleydale did have concerns about if it was a wet pond and the potential for mosquitoes and other pests that come along with that.
How many went out?
Letters?
Yeah.
It was everybody within at least 150 feet. Approximately 39.
39, and you only got 2.
About, 39 or so.
And you only had 2 people with objections or questions.
Yes.
Thank you.
What is, I think I know, but let me What is the big change from what we approved to what they want to go to? I know it's those ponds, I know it's the water, et cetera. What is the big difference between the two? What
From
they
a
had
sand
and what they
filter-
want?
Well, they were proposing a sand filter, which, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeremy Roberts is his engineer, but sand filters don't typically hold water on a regular basis versus a wet pond, which I believe is what they're proposing now, would hold water on a more regular basis. But Jeremy Roberts, legal engineering, is the engineer on
Maybe
the
I should.
project. He might be able to address a little bit better than I
I'm sorry, I
can.
should have asked him that question. Okay.
And the 400 square feet?
Yes,
there's-
from 1,800 square feet to 1,400 square feet is what he is requesting. And the average of the surrounding properties is around 1,200 square feet, 1,300 square feet
They're gonna average 12 and 12.
of the surrounding
Yeah.
properties.
Oh, okay, yes, okay. Okay. Any
I
other
have
questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
With the new restrictions that they are asking for, how close does that bring the property to the development that we turned down over there?
Are you referring?
You know, we had the first project that was presented in that area, the city council turned it down. So, and whenever the developer came back and we approved this, the developer and Councilman Kazai met with some of the homeowners and satisfied those homeowners that this was going to be a project that they could feel comfortable with. Since we are reducing what is being required, I'm wondering how close it brings it to the project that we actually turned down over there. For instance,
Like a number of years ago? When
no,
this-
it wasn't, it was
No, it's-
maybe a couple years ago.
Last
years.
year.
Was it last year?
in October of 2018, it
No,
was
no,
approved.
no, I'm talking about,
Like
it was prior to
2017
that.
maybe,
It was 2
2017?
years ago.
Okay. I can't recall the minimum house size, but I believe there were 24 lots being proposed at that time. I think that the minimum house size, I think, was 1,400.
But there was also the detention ponds that were a problem for the community at that time as well. And I'm wondering, even though we're adding 2 detention ponds to it, you know, we had told residents before that they were going to be sand filled and would not be standing water. Now we are changing that, or there's an
For your
attempt to change it.
consideration, yeah.
It seems like there was some other accommodations being made with moving water from a certain area on the property to a lower area and having some type of a storm drain there to help collect water and move it off the property. I'm wondering if any of that has changed, has been downgraded.
I know that the city has done work out there regarding stormwater concerns. As far as the location of the stormwater features and where they would discharge, that has not changed from the original proposal that was approved.
Typically with the stormwater requirements, the developer or the engineer doesn't spell out what type of BMP is going to be in place. Now, there were concerns from the neighbors about the runoff of the water. Council tabled the project so we could, council members and staff could meet with some of the neighbors. I know engineering was involved and they've done some improvements in the area as well. But one of the stormwater feature, the specific sand filter was put in as a note to try to meet the residents' request. But I think when they got closer to start construction drawings or the stormwater, the topography wouldn't allow for the sand filter. So since it was a note on the plan, we were required to amend. And it's the same developer that was the original project that got denied. He may better have information about the house sizes.
I have a question.
So we're not, this is a different developer than we looked at.
This is the third time we've heard.
Okay.
Same developer, though.
It's the same developer that's presented it all 3 times?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Lisa, maybe you can answer the question about the contact that we've made with the 2 or 3 individuals that served on that ad hoc committee with Councilman Kazan, whether those individuals were contacted and given the opportunity to take another look at what was being presented to see if they still felt as comfortable with this new presentation as they were with the one that they thought it was okay if we approved.
Over here.
I know according to state law, they are, of course, notified of the public hearing. I believe from staff advised the applicant to reach out to the public. It is not a requirement, but they are encouraged to do so. I don't know if you
Yes,
have-
yeah, staff did recommend that to the applicant on a couple of occasions, and to the best of my knowledge, that did not happen.
Okay. Question.
Yes.
Okay, going back to what Councilman Jordan said, that was a special committee formed because of
Yes.
the displeasure of the people in that neighborhood. Out of courtesy, they should have been notified. And I have this question, excuse my ignorance, but this is the same developer, this is the third time they've been here. I don't know a lot about building, but they say there's a problem with the stormwater retention. So I assume that you have a lot of experience in making developments. So how did you miss it so much that you need to come back to us again and want to reduce it by 400 feet and have a new stormwater retention plan, yet you can't tell us what it is?
I believe he's, yeah, okay, you, Mr. Roberts? Okay, he's signing, but yeah, okay.
Jeremy Roberts with Eagle Engineering. To answer your question, as we went through the design phase of this project, we determined that the groundwater was actually pretty high in the site, only about 6 inches below the ground in the low areas of the site, and that doesn't allow for a sand filter. A sand filter can't be saturated in the groundwater.
My question is, this is the third time you've been before us, and I know that you experienced, and I know you told us that you had a lot of developments, you had a lot of experience, and yet, with your engineers and everybody and all that they do, and I admit my ignorance, you wouldn't have found that out before now?
No, ma'am, it's not until the construction drawing phase. Essentially, we go through the rezoning phase, and then during the construction drawing phase, we go through due diligence of, finding out what the water table elevation is during the design.
Because you presented a design before.
I have not.
No, maybe not you, but there. That just find out highly unlikely. I'm not discounting what you say, but just common sense. That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, so the issue was that the original zoning plan specifically called for a sand filter, and during our design of the site, we determined that we can't use that.
Council, have any questions for Mr. Roberts?
Not for Mr. Roberts. And I guess maybe we just need to go through the public. I would like to hear from Jim Lloyd, because I know that Jim has worked very diligently with the neighbors out there. So maybe after they make their presentation, I would like to hear from Jim to see what his feelings are.
Mayor, if I could, just one thing on the timeline, just so everyone on council's on the same page. Mayor and council, this is actually one that you approved it in October. It had been continued from September in 2018, and in between you had the ad hoc committee meet, because there had been a plan presented. They revised that plan, so you did not turn down the plan in September. They came back and amended the plans so that it could be approved after all the changes that were the result of the hearing. So if there was a prior iteration of this, I don't have that handy, but I can tell you that looking at the minutes, this was presented to you in September. You continued to inform the committee. Council members Anthony, Keziah, and McGee served on that along and worked with planning and engineering staff and the neighbors and the developer. And that meeting was held in mid-September, and then the solution was reached that resulted in what you approved in October.
But
Mayor, could neighbors that was on the committee that we formed, are y'all familiar with what we're talking about?
I've got them
They're
down here.
talking about.
They coming,
Okay.
we're gonna do that, I've gotta be on the public hearing.
Huh?
They're gonna get to speak on the public hearing.
Well, Mayor, if they hadn't, I'm gonna make a motion that we table this and we, again, meet with those people to, decide if this is the right way to go. That's my motion.
I would second that motion.
Well, we haven't asked them yet. We need to ask.
Mayor, if I could ask Councilmember Keziah to set a date certain for when it's tabled to, I'm assuming that the intent would be to table it to the May 2018 meeting of the council?
May what meeting?
May 2018, so May 7th? May 7th.
May 7th.
Okay. I have a motion to table it to May 7 until the prior committee can be contacted again. Do I have a second?
And actually, we'd ask it to be tabled without further advertising,
Yeah.
so there's no need.
I second.
I have a motion to table it to May 2nd, May 7th, without any further advertising. I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we table to May 7th. And the committee, the prior committee, and I see some in the audience.
Yeah, I'm confused. Are we not to be heard today?
I'm sorry?
Are we not to be heard today?
No, not now, because what we're gonna do is come back together and you'll have an opportunity to be heard.
But I think they need to understand that they will be meeting with that same
Same
committee.
committee.
Yes, well, I thought, yeah.
And we'll be notified of this?
Yeah, the same committee that met before.
Well, they met in secret, because
Okay,
this is my
No,
first
there was,
I've heard.
well, there was a committee appointed.
That was last September, sir.
They was-
I've been in that property for, 16 years now. so-
It was an ad hoc committee. It was some members from the community and members from city council.
Well,
The whole
I'm from
community didn't meet.
And like I said, this letter that I got to come here tonight was the first I heard of anything.
Well, you'll certainly you certainly have the privilege to attend that committee meeting about this project if you would like to. So yes, you'll have an opportunity to be heard, absolutely.
Sir, I
Yeah.
have a question.
If you'll come to the podium, please. We need your name and address for the record, ma'am.
Yes, my name is Gwendolyn Bothan. My address is 3205 Valleydale Road, Monroe. And my question is whether those of us who were not part of the original ad hoc committee, but do still have a strong interest in being a part of the discussions going forward, if there's some way that the composition of that committee can change to include not an overwhelming number of people, but enough of us to truly represent the community.
Mayor, to answer the question, the council can determine the composition of the ad hoc committee. And because it is a committee that will advise the council, public notice will be given, the public will be allowed to attend. So what you can do is that anyone that is not placed on the ad hoc committee, because once you put more than a few people on it, you start having schedule issues. But you can, the notification will allow individuals to attend, and I would assume that ad hoc committee would want to take public input from those who aren't on the committee as well.
Mayor,
Yes.
if there's 2 or 3 more, it looks like that's what it is, that wishes to be at that meeting, they just need to give their name to our girl in charge of planning and zoning, Lisa Steinway.
Mayor, I think one thing also to point out, looking at the minutes from the prior meeting, the composition of the committee was Brendel Hamilton, James Levinsky, Larry Robinson, Councilmember Anthony, Councilmember Keziah, Councilmember McGee, Scott Merritt, and then, of course, city staff would advise. So that was the composition of that committee before. And if that is what the council wishes to use the same group, that would be up to the council. And then, of course, it would be public, and so anyone could attend.
Yes.
And I think that Councilmember Kazan saying that if there's another 2 or 3 people, who would like to be a part of it, I think he's saying that he does not have a problem with that. So if you just,
Okay, so what is the procedure and to whom do we address the question?
Staff member Lisa Steinwinter know at the end of the meeting, give her your name, and she will make sure you're notified. It's time and place of that meeting.
Okay, and you said that her name was Lisa?
Lisa, will you stand, please? This lady right here.
Okay, right there, okay.
All they need is your name, address, phone number, where they can contact you.
Okay.
The committee will meet, and anyone who wants to attend that meeting is certainly welcome to attend that meeting. And then we'll come back again on May 7th, and we'll hear from you again, or whatever you might want to say. But no one will be excluded. Everybody have an opportunity.
Okay, all right.
So, sir, if you're interested, be sure to see that meeting. Yes. Okay, and anyone else. All right, this is tabled to May 7th. Thank you very much. Fish.
May I speak a moment?
Item 50.
Scott,
Can I speak real quick about that? About the date and all? I mean, because I was on the original
Yes,
committee. I'm James
yes,
Levinsky.
yes, you will.
And I won't be in town then. Is that,
Well, the date, you haven't set a date for it yet.
okay, so that's just the final, all right, the meeting's gonna be in
The
between.
meeting you'll decide the date, yes, sir.
It's been continued, the council will consider it on
Yeah.
that May date.
Yeah, it'd be considered, yeah.
Council's already made that
Now, the
decision.
council, be sure I understand, the council will decide on May the 7th, but the community meeting will be a different date. Very
We'll
good.
find out what citizens.
All right, item 15, zoning map amendment request to rezone property located 2111 Stafford Street. Doug, we recognize you, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Doug Brett, Plan Department. Tonight I'm presenting a zone map amendment and text amendment request filed by Lewis Davis of Bridge to Recovery for the property located at 2111 Stafford Street Extension. The applicant is proposing to rezone the property from GI General Industrial to Conditional District Bridge to Recovery. Subject property is outlined in blue, located along Stafford Street Extension, and then basically right there in front of Piedmont Drive. The property estate is currently zoned GI. The properties to the west, to the east and to the west are light industrial in Union County, and then to the north is RA40 in Union County. Properties to the south are GI General Industrial as well as R20. It's in the ETJ of the City of Monroe, not in the city limits, but within the ETJ. Bridge to Recovery is a, basically prior to that, it was an alcohol treatment facility located at the location, and Bridge to Recovery bought it a few years ago, and they operate similar, so they do drug treatment rehab, and basically they're requesting to construct a community building on the site as well as 4 dormitories, in addition to the 2 existing buildings they have on the property, as well as to expand the 2 parking lots. They currently have a parking lot at this location. They're requesting to expand here and here. And the reason for the request, since it is a treatment facility, the property is on general industrial, these types of facilities are not allowed in the industrial zoning district, and the alcohol treatment facility was the grandfathered use. And when the Bridge to Recovery purchased the property, same type of use, so they're able to extend that grandfather to that nonconformity. And basically what triggers them to go through this process is they're requesting to make a change to the property. So that's why they're required to go through the conditional district process. Mr. Lewis Davis is here tonight. He can, if you have questions about what they do, but typically what, from my speaking with him, is that somebody comes in and they might receive check-in for, I think they say 28 to 35 days. And then, so it's not, I wouldn't live there for a year, but it's a revolving door of people coming in, people going out there that's receiving treatment. The project, like I said, is on general industrial. The only improvements that will be required for the project will be, they'll be required to do stormwater management that would meet the requirements of the stormwater manual for the city of Monroe, and that would be reviewed at time of permitting as well. The project is consistent with the land development plan. Plan board did recommend approval, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you have. And there's a resolution in your packet for your consideration tonight as well. And that's all I have unless you have any questions.
Is this a private facility?
Yes, ma'am, it is. It's a 501c3, but it's
Okay,
it's
is it
owned by
for
Bridge to Recovery.
adult treatment?
Yes, ma'am. I know you have this on your agenda, but that's your action items for not to be able to consider.
Okay. Any questions? Hearing none, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
This is a public hearing. I have a couple signed up, and I'll take them in order the way they're signed up. If anyone else who would like to speak would have the opportunity. I have a Mr. Mace sign up to speak. If you give us your name and address for the clerk, please.
Yep, Aaron May, 2110 Stafford Street Extension, live right across the road from the property there, and also representing Plotter Farms and Union County Livestock, it's adjoining landowners and things there. I think it's a great organization that is there. Just concerned with the city's response when we have incidences there in that area, just the response of the city with both fire and both police response, what is currently there. First time I'd seen the actual buildings that are being designed there. It looks like there's going to be quite a bit more people on site than what is currently there. So I hope the city planning department has taken into account what the responses are going to be, both police and for fire in that area, and just the sewer and everything else in that area. That land is pretty, has limited development all up and down Stafford Street Extension. It's been the actual sewer there. So would like to know what else the city has planned in response to that change in use.
So are you for or against it?
I'm not either way right now. I'd just like to make sure enough has been made to make sure all concerns have been addressed. Like I said, right now, it started out, there's about 40 parking spots there, and look from that map there, they're tripling their parking. And probably there's only one dormitory on the place right now, and you're putting 4 other dorms on top of that. So it's quite a big expanse in the process, in the amount of people that are coming in and out of the property there. And like I said, just where we're located, City of Monroe has great police officers, but where we're located there, whenever we have incidences on Stafford Street Extension, we are very slow to respond between county and city deciding who's going to respond out there and things. So.
Do you have specific, when you started, you said you had concerns. Do you have specific concerns that you wanted to?
There's a lot of pedestrian traffic that come in and out of the facility currently, and it's a pretty bad curve in that area there also. So there's just making sure that all those concerns have been addressed, especially from a public safety standpoint and things there.
When the application comes in, this goes to each department with the city that has, such as fire, police, and et cetera.
Okay.
They have to look at the plans and the situation, and they either sign off on it or they don't sign off on it. Of course, in this case, if it gets this far, it's all been signed off on.
Okay.
So apparently, they should not be a problem. Of course, as you mentioned, the police department will be the primary, but if they need any more help, of course, the sheriff's department is always a secondary backup, and of course, we are to them also. So all of them work together. So it should not be a problem at all with that.
Okay.
And with the fire department also, shouldn't be.
Do y'all know if there's any sewer being brought to that property to accommodate the new dorms and things there? Is the city extending sewer out there to that?
Can you address that, please?
Yeah, it was around to the Water Resource Department, and they're going to do some things with the sewer, but the site will be served by the Monroe. I mean, if there's any type of sewer extension involved, it's up to the developer to extend the sewer. Obviously, the city's not going to extend the sewer. I mean, it's a developer driven. So if the sewer was extended, it'd be done on the developer's dime, not the city's own. And they've received comment from Water Resources. Because typically what happens is when a project gets submitted, we route it to all the various departments, as you said, Mayor, and they kind of give them heads up comments. They get comments from Water Resources and Energy Service that don't generally pertain to the conditional district, but kind of give them heads up comments down the road. If it's approved, here's what you're looking at doing, and that has been routed to them, and they're aware of what they have to do for a water resource and a sewer and water standpoint.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is it Mr. Jones I have signed up? It looks like Jones. Am I pronouncing that right? Eric, 2103 Stafford Street Extension. I'm sorry. Your name, sir?
Eric Thomas.
Thomas, okay. Mr. Thomas, sorry about that.
Oh, ain't no problem. That's the reason I didn't get up. I'm sorry. I'm basically feel the same way Aaron did. I was just worried about, I mean, it's a good place. They do a good thing. I don't have a problem with them over there. I just, if there's going to be any amenities come through before it, would the neighbors be available to attach to the amenities that come through, sewer, whatever. We got water. But that was my main idea.
Okay. Council, have any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Is anyone else here who would like to speak in favor? Is anyone here who would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, I'm sorry?
I'm Lou Davis. Does anyone have any questions?
If you'd like to come to the podium, Mr. Davis, we've got to get this on the record, sir, please. Name and address first for our record.
Lou Davis, and I live in Charlotte, 6744 Melody Lane. And I'm the executive director of the Bridge to Recovery. I just want to make sure if you had any questions that I was here to answer those.
Apparently not. Thank you, sir.
No.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing and take action.
Motion to adopt a resolution approving land development plan.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Here's none, that'll pass.
Motion to adopt ordinance amending section 156.106 of the Code of Ordinances.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that will pass.
Oh, wait a minute, don't we have to do D? Do I have to do
That's
D?
it.
No, you do D.
Okay, motion to adopt ordinance amending section 156.98 of the Code of Ordinances.
Okay, have a motion?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes. Thank you, sir. Okay, let me see. Push me down to 16. Item 16 is zoning text amendment request, bid code orders. Lisa?
Good evening. I'm Lisa Stywinner, Director of Planning and Development with the City of Monroe. I would like to bring before you a zoning text amendment request to Section 156.124E15 titled Dimensional Requirements in the Concord Avenue Overlay District. The zoning text amendment is to modify note number 3 of this section regarding minimum lot widths for single-family attached residential in the Subdistrict A of the Concord Avenue Overlay District. The purpose of the text amendment is to modify the minimum lot width for single-family attached residential such as townhomes within the Subdistrict A of the Concord Avenue Overlay District from 24 feet to 20 feet. I'd like to orient you to the Concord Avenue study boundary is highlighted in red. The Subdistrict A is the peach color and is located to the west and south within the Concord Avenue Overlay District. Staff has conducted research from other municipalities regarding minimum lot widths for single-family attached residential, particularly such as townhomes. Research has shown that the minimum lot widths for single-family attached residential range from 16 to 24 feet, and some municipalities even waive the lot requirement. The existing ordinance requires a minimum lot width of 36 feet for single-family detached and 24 feet with single-family attached residential for properties located in the Subdistrict A of the Concord Avenue Overlay District. Based on research conducted, staff is requesting the text amendment to modify the minimum lot width for single-family attached residential from 24 feet to 20 feet. The zoning text amendment is in compliance with the land development plan, and Planning Board recommends approval of the zoning text amendment to Section 156.124 E15 titled Dimensional Requirements in the Concord Avenue Overlay District. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Does this include duplexes?
I don't believe duplexes were a permissible use in the Subdistrict A.
The townhomes are?
Yes, ma'am. If council will need to take the following action once they come to that decision.
This is a public hearing, ain't it, Bob?
Do what?
This is a public hearing, ain't it?
Yeah. I was waiting to see if you had any questions. Do you have any questions for Lisa? No questions? Okay, thank you, Lisa. This is a public hearing. Anyone here who'd like to speak in favor? Anyone here excuse me, who would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and take action. I have a motion.
Motion to adopt a resolution approving land development plan compliance.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none,
Motion to adopt ordinance amending section 156.124 of the Code of Ordinances.
Second.
okay, have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, that will pass. Okay, that puts us down to 17. Item 17, reconsideration of zoning map amendment request for conditional district Fraser Court.
Thank you, Mayor. That is an item that, at your request, we've added to the agenda. After your March 5 votes regarding the Fraser Court item where you approved a resolution denying land development compliance and then denied a zoning map amendment, it's requested that we place the item on the agenda for motion for reconsideration. I want to make one thing, council's aware of this, but for anyone in the audience and watching, this is not a vote on the item itself. This is purely a procedural vote to put the item, to have the council reconsider the Fraser Court rezoning issue. If council were to reconsider it, we would ask you to then schedule a public hearing for your May 7 meeting as well. So what would have to happen is that because these two items were voted unanimously by the council, any member of council can bring the motion to reconsider. Any member can second it, and then depending on the vote on that, we'll see what happens. But if a member believes the motion to reconsider is appropriate, we have suggested the form of the motion in your agenda package. And then if that is approved, we've also suggested the form of the motion for any further public hearing and the other item as well. Happy to answer any questions any member of council has on this.
Question, I don't recall that being a unanimous vote.
It was because we're talking not about you had a vote on, there was two resolutions out there. One was to approve it as consistent with land development compliance plan, and that failed. Then the second was a resolution to say it was inconsistent with the land development plan. That passed unanimously, 7-0. Then the rezoning, denying the rezoning, also passed unanimously, 7-0. So that's why both of those are unanimous. That's why any member can raise the issue.
Okay.
That's confusing.
Questions, any questions?
Ma'am, I'm happy to answer. I'm happy to help alleviate any confusion I can. The issue was there were 3 votes you took that night.
Right.
The first was on whether or not the plan was consistent with the land development plan that had been adopted. The council voted on that one, I believe, 3-4.
Right.
So that one failed.
Right.
Then the next vote you took was because you have to, even if you're going to approve to deny rezoning, you are required under state law to vote on a resolution on whether or not the plan is, whether or not the request is consistent with your adopted land development plan. So what you did as a council is then you took a second vote, which was on the resolution denying land development plan compliance. So what you did there is that was a 7-0 vote to say it is not consistent with your land development plan.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first vote you'd have to reconsider to get back to where you can then consider the rezoning at your next meeting. The third vote you took after you said it was the resolution was not consistent with the adopted land development plan is you then took a vote to deny the rezoning request, and that was a 7-0 vote as well. So those two were unanimous, which is why any member of the council can make a motion to reconsider both of those votes, which is why we put it that way, because what prevailed that evening was the resolution denying land development compliance plan and denying the zoning plan. So that's why any member of the council can make that motion.
This is my question. The 2 parts that were unanimous, I can see that not having to come again because that's already voted on by everybody. Why aren't we just making the motion on whether or not we're going to reconsider denying it, since that was the one that had a 4-3 vote?
No, when you denied it, well, ma'am, the resolution that said that the plan was consistent was denied by lost on a 3-4 vote.
Right.
That's not, because in that case, then what you'd have to have is the members, the 4 members that voted against it. But what we determined from a staff perspective is when something fails 3 to 4, there's no action, it's gone. You took 2 actions in that night that can actually be reconsidered. You can't reconsider, well, it's hard to reconsider a vote that completely failed. So what we determined was the appropriate path to follow was a reconsidering the land development plan, the resolution that said it was inconsistent, and then the denial, because those 2 make sense together. So that's why we put it together that way. If you want to reconsider the first vote, there are 4 members that can do that, and I don't have the minutes in front of me to tell you who those 4 are, but the clerk could do that. But that depends on if council wants to reconsider that vote. The recommendation from staff is if you wanted to do this, you reconsider the resolution denying land development plan compliance and to deny the zoning map amendment, because those are consistent with each other. It just makes better sense that way to do it.
Well, why wasn't it left up to council which one we want to consider that rather than making the staff recommendation?
Well, because we were asked to do it, and we recognized that the appropriate way to do it was where you'd actually taken actions.
Is there,
when you voted against it, you didn't take an action. You just said we weren't going to do something.
Mayor, is there, is the motion in order that we not consider bringing this back for a public hearing?
We fixed that. I'm fixing to ask for something, yes, in just a second. So what we're doing, we're voting to either approve it coming back in the next monthly meeting, or we're gonna vote to not approve it to come back. That's as easiest way as I know, so.
That's what
yeah.
I suggest.
I'm making a motion that we not reconsider, Mayor, that.
I second that motion.
The residents were here, they spoke.
Yeah.
Council took action that I think was in harmony with the wishes of those residents. I make a motion that we not reconsider.
I second that motion.
I have a motion not reconsider. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that's,
It passes.
yeah, okay. 4 to 3, you got the same thing. Okay, that will fail.
Or actually, the not reconsidering it passed, so that's it. It ends.
It's over.
A member can, if they wish, bring it back again, but understand that it would require 5 votes to pass the next time. Today would only require 3.
Why? Why would we require
Because
5?
if someone wished to do it, because the city code is worded that says that if it is brought at the same or succeeding meeting, it only needs a majority. If it's brought at any other time, which would be any meeting after today, it would need then a supermajority, which would be then 5 votes. If another member wished to,
Again and again.
ma'am, if another member, under the agenda rules, ma'am, if the mayor or 2 members of council wish to bring it back, staff doesn't have the ability to say to you no, because that's under your rules. If the mayor or 2 members of council request it to come back, they can make that request. I think that would be an issue for council to decide amongst themselves if they want to bring it back. I think what you've seen tonight would be a clear demonstration that it probably wouldn't be wise to bring it back, because reconsidering failed for, even to reconsider it didn't go forward. There were only 3 votes. I think it's fair to say there might have been 3 votes to reconsider it, because there were 4 votes that didn't wish to reconsider it. But that's because the rules you have require that 2 members or the mayor can put an item back on the agenda, and staff doesn't have the discretion to say, no, that's not a good idea.
Okay. Well, as our legal representative, would you go so far as to say that you would suggest that we don't bring it back?
I'm not going to make that recommendation, because that's a policy area that I don't get involved in. But what I would tell you is that if 2 members of the council or the mayor said, I'd like it on the next agenda, we would put it on the next agenda.
Okay.
But we would also talk to the member and say, whoever wanted to put it back on, just remember how that prior vote went. We'd provide you the information, and then it would be up to the members or the mayor that wish to put it back on the agenda to put on the agenda.
Now, I believe I'm right. They can bring it back in a year. Is it a year?
Yes, they could bring it back.
Back in 1 year,
in
so
1 year.
it's pretty much,
Unless it's, I think, substantially changed,
Yeah.
substantially modified.
Well, please clarify that.
It's
Who
dead
can,
to
who
water.
can bring it back in a year?
The developer.
the developer can bring it back.
Okay, but the council members that asked for it to be put on tonight can ask that it be put on every meeting if they want to.
Well,
They could. They could.
They could.
Two members of the mayor could do that every meeting if they wish to.
Okay.
That's the rules
I
of
just-
procedure that,
I just
as a
want-
council, you agreed
Okay,
to.
I just want the residents to understand that.
Well, yeah, but just slam and done and done.
I mean,
So it's
staff,
pretty-
staff works under the rules that you have approved, and we.
The developer
we-
can bring it back in
Go
a year.
forward
and
that way.
It's pretty much.
Well, that's any item though, right?
That's any item, yes, sir,
Any item.
any item.
But
If two members of the mayor wish to bring any item up, we will put it on the agenda.
all right, so that has failed. That's failed, so we're moving on. We're going to items,
18.
yeah, we're back down to 18. Item 18, a loading zone on Beasley Street between Franklin and Jefferson Street. Mr. Jim.
Good evening. This item is to provide an update on a request to provide parking on the west side of Beasley Street between Franklin Street and Jefferson Street in place of the existing loading zone. The matter was originally to be reviewed by the Public Safety Committee on March 18th, but that meeting was canceled. With permission of Chairperson Anthony and Mayor Kilgore, this item has moved forward without a committee recommendation. Engineering has been requested to look into the possibility of removing the loading zone on the west side of Beasley Street between Franklin Street and Jefferson Street to allow for additional parking. The request is from Richard Hutaff, who works within the downtown area. The current ordinance provides for a commercial unloading zone about 84 feet in length on the west side of Beasley Street, just north of Franklin Street. The east side of Beasley Street would continue to be prohibited from parking to allow passage of vehicles. The majority of the business owners stated that they did not use the loading zone and would have no problem with its removal. However, the owner of East Franklin Superette and Kitchen, located at 209 Franklin Street, did express some concerns and requested postponing any decision to better determine their needs and possible use of the loading zone. The business is expected to receive 30 more deliveries per week, and the owners are concerned with blocking in customers who are parked in the on-street parking spaces if they use a travel lane for delivery allowed by ordinance. The owners believe the loading zone will be a benefit to their business by allowing them to keep the street clear of delivery vehicles. In addition, the building adjacent to Beasley Street on the east side at 201 East Franklin Street is currently vacant and available for lease. It is possible that the new tenant could utilize the loading zone in the future as well. Engineering recommends delaying action on the request to remove the loading zone on Beasley Street, and we also recommend reevaluating this request in 1 year from today's date. Any questions?
No question. Thank you, Jim.
I make a motion to delay action on the request and reevaluate the request in a year.
Second. I have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item 19, Nova Solutions Grant Application.
You standing in for chief? Well, this is not good.
Yeah, on the table.
I move to table that grant application from Nova.
Second.
I have a motion to table, and I have a second.
Mayor, we would ask that, Councilmember McGee seconded it, but what we would ask is that you set a date to table. It would be the.
To May 6th.
May 7th. May 7th.
May 7th, yes.
May 7th.
I have a motion to table to May 7th. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Item 21 is public comment period. I have Dr. Mitchell.
Do we have 20?
Recognize you at this time, man.
One more.
Huh? I did. Okay, I'll overlook one.
Jim's got introduction.
I'm sorry. Okay, item 20, ordinance amending code of ordinance, land use in chapter 158. That was folded over. Sorry about
It was in that piece, Bill.
This item is to consider an amendment to Chapter 158, Erosion and Sedimentation Control of the City of Monroe Code of Ordinances. The amendment was reviewed at the Public Enterprise Committee on March 19th, but that meeting did not have a quorum. With permission of Chairperson Anthony and Mayor Kilgore, this item is moved forward without a committee recommendation. The City of Monroe Engineering Department began enforcement of a local erosion and sedimentation control ordinance on July 1st, 2003. The program was implemented in response to Phase 2 stormwater compliance and to improve our ability to protect Monroe's drinking water supply. The model ordinance for local programs has been updated, and the state is requesting delegated programs such as Monroe to follow suit. The recommended updates are related to changes to the Sedimentation Pollution Control Act made in recent years, as well as due to legislative changes. The model ordinance also addresses civil penalty payments, and this is also included in the proposed update to our local ordinance. In the staff report provided in your agenda package, wording to be deleted is crossed out, wording to be added is in bold, with any required explanation in italics. Most of the changes are fairly generic, and instead of reviewing all of them, I'm just going to cover some specific changes for your reference. Under Section 158.16, Item C, is changed to require the consultant to submit directly to the Union County Soil and Water Conservation Service. The revision removes the City of Monroe as the middle person and places the responsibility upon the consultant to submit directly to Union County. Contact has been made with Alan Aldridge, District Director, and he is receptive to this approach. The most noteworthy revisions are under Section 158.18 penalties. Under Item 1 of this section, the maximum cumulative total civil penalty assessed under this subsection for all violations is limited to $25,000, provided that this is a first-time violator and issues are resolved within 6 months. This threshold of $25,000 has not been a factor for Monroe in the past. Typically, we have been able to obtain compliance without issuance of penalties. Under Item 2, penalties, a violator currently has the option to pay the assessment or contest the assessment through the court system. The revision adds the ability to seek remission of the assessment from the Sedimentation Control Commission if a request is made within 60 days. Subsequently, we changed the time frame for instituting civil action from 30 days to 60 days to match the 60-day requirement. And then the last one, civil penalties will no longer be credited to the general fund. Engineering staff recommends that City Council concur with the proposed revisions, and we recommend approval of Ordinance 2019-14. Yeah.
Mayor, I make a motion to adopt ordinance amending chapter 158 of the Code of Ordinance.
I'd second.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that'll pass. Now with public comment period, and I'll recognize at this time Dr. Mitchell from the Union County Alumni Chapter Delta Sigma.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for your proclamation recognizing April 2019 as Union County Alumni Chapter Delta Sigma Theta Month. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is a private, not-for-profit organization whose purpose is to provide assistance and support through established programs in local communities throughout the world. We support our organization's national agenda, and here in Union County, we deliver services and resources via the following methods. 1, annual and ongoing programs and events, such as our annual free market, community health fair, golf tournament, cotillion, as well as monthly mentoring programs for middle and high school girls and monthly feedings at the Union County Community Shelter. The Community Shelter of Union County. The support of and participation with other community groups such as the MLK Committee, Crisis Assistant Ministries, YWCA at Willow Oaks, and Monroe Parks and Recreation. Specialty programming related to issues of specific concern such as human trafficking, sensible gun laws, voter registration, voter education, registration, and mobilization, the school to prison pipeline, and the promotion of women to pursue elected offices. And lastly, the awarding of scholarships to young ladies graduating from schools right here in Union County Public School System. We would like to raise the following to the attention of this council for consideration in decision-making moving forward. 1, we encourage the council to participate with our organization and other municipalities and community-based organizations in the formation of the Former Offenders Resource Council, or FORCE, to support the successful reentry of former offenders in the city and the county. 2, we encourage the council to develop strategies to encourage a complete count in the upcoming Census 2020 to include ongoing education and promotion for citizens in the city of Monroe. 3, we encourage the council to partner with community-based, faith-based, and other organizations toward the successful development and implementation of strategic plans related to increasing affordable housing in the city. 4, we encourage the council to aggressively work with community-based, faith-based, and other organizations, including our chapter, to eradicate the advancement of gangs within the city. 5, we encourage the council to work with other municipalities, local health care providers, and the HIV and AIDS patient population to develop and implement strategies that will bring an infectious care physician to the county. 6, we encourage the council to work with other municipalities and the Union County Public Schools to develop and implement strategies that will bring diverse teachers to the area who more closely represent the student population. Finally, the Union County Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta commends and thanks the Parks and Recreation Department at large, and more specifically, Ms. Patricia Huntley of the J. Ray Shute Center for their ongoing support of our Delta Gyms and Delta Academy programs. Since its inception in 2012, our mentoring groups have serviced over 100 young ladies in Union County Public Schools, including middle and high school young ladies, with programming related to self-development, mental and physical health, community service, college preparation, personal money management, and STEAM careers. J. Ray Shute Center has also been the host of our annual free market, where we give away clothing to at-need residents here in the community. We are proud and happy, if appropriate at this time, to present a check in the amount of $2,508.59 to be used at the J. Ray Shute Center as outlined previously. Specifications regarding how the funds are to be spent have been shared with Mr. Ryan Jones, and we thank him for his assistance in this matter. The Union County Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority is a small chapter that prides itself on making a big impact in our community. We look forward to working with our local government and community organizations to develop programs and services for the betterment of all citizens of Union County and the citizens here in Monroe. We thank you for your time and your consideration this evening, and we encourage you to see your very own council member, Sir Luda Anthony, this Sunday, who will be our keynote speaker at our annual cotillion. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mitchell. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Is it appropriate to deliver this today?
Thank you so much for the proclamation. Thank you. Thanks to each and every one of you for your kind donation and for your work that you do here in the city and Union County for our young folks. It's a lot of, it means a lot to those folks. It means a lot to the city of Monroe. So thank you so much. Okay, this is a public hearing. Oh, I've been to so many public hearings, I'm still doing it. This is a public comment period. I had part of it right. Is anyone else here who would like to address the council? Okay.
Move adjourned.
Have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor? Ain't no basketball game tonight. We adjourn. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Coco.
What was